Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Digi event on getting started with SEO. First, a few words about your DigiGuide. For those of you who have not attended any of our earlier events or haven't been to the website yet, we are a platform that provides free and open Digi knowledge for companies, organizations, entrepreneurs, and basically anyone who wants to. And we have those Digi events like the one today, monthly, at least one, in 3 different languages, in English, in Finnish, and in German. And well, obviously this one is one of the English ones. For the one for April, with our Digi experts, we have many Digi experts on the website. Today we have Juliette speaking for us about search engine optimization, short SEO. And during her talk, you actually have the chance to leave comments and questions for her, and you can do that depending on the platform that you're on, like either on YouTube here on that side, or in Facebook on the bottom. And we will collect all those questions and comments, and then in the end, after she's done, we will have some time to still choose a few of those and talk about that. And if you miss the beginning, or if you have to leave earlier, or if you want to see the whole thing again, don't worry. We have this all recorded. You can still watch this video of the whole event later in Facebook, in YouTube, or on our website. You will find everything. We'll still send you an email also later, so don't worry if you miss anything. Okay, well, that's everything from my side for now. And now I'm gonna actually hand over to Juliette. Good morning, Juliette. Hello.
Hi, Ansgar. Hi, everyone. It's really nice to be here. So just a warning, I'm not a morning person, so I will do my best to be as energetic as possible, and also I tend to be talkative, so I will try not to be overtime. But so shall we start talk about SEO now? Yes, thank you for the slides. So I'm going to share with you different ways to boost your traffic with SEO. I think that the 3 main components of a nice SEO strategy is, first of all, the keywords that most of the time people tend to overemphasize. So you're really hyper-focused on your keywords. And I'm going to share with you a methodology that's going to help you be slightly less focused on the keywords, but at the same time, you're going to be able to cover a wider range of keywords. And this is actually the second point, which is the architecture of your website. That is crucial. So we're going to see how to get a more detailed articulation of your content. And I'm also going to share with you the mirroring structure. It's kind of my thing. And a disclaimer, all this needs to be done in a technical, SEO-friendly way, but we're not going to be able to cover that part right now because it would be just too long and too much. So we're only going to tackle the 2 first points of that, of the 3 pillars of on-site SEO. Also, another disclaimer is that I absolutely don't care, I couldn't care less of backlinking. So anything that is not happening on the website, I don't care about it. So I'm only focusing on what we can do with the content displayed on the website. So let's get started with the keywords. Yes, in general, the more the merrier. That's my motto. And we're going to talk about the difference between generic keywords that most of the time you have identified quite clearly, versus the long tail keywords, which is really something that I invite you to explore. But I think that the beginning of the journey starts with that question, which is not what are my keywords? On the contrary, I think the real question to ask first is how much content do I need? Because when you know the volume of content that you need to produce, then you can think of the different types of keywords that you need to deploy on your website. So there is a nice and easy way to define the volume of content that you need on your website. I've linked on that site the resource from Ahrefs, which is the advanced search operators. So those are commands that you can type on Google to help you know what Google knows about different websites, your website, but also your competitors' websites, obviously. So what I invite you to do the first thing that I invite you to do is actually to check that command, site colon, and then any address. So do it for your website, and then do it for your competitors' websites. And what you will see is the number of pages, or so here cycled in yellow, the number of results that Google knows about the said URL, the website. So in that example, I took the posterclub.com, and I know that Google knows around 20,000 pages for that website. And if you want to be more specific, let's say you've noticed that your competitor has a blog and you don't have a blog, and you're like, oh, I'm just wondering how much content, what's the weight of that section on the overall website. So to do that, most of the time blogs, they are accessible at one address that either includes /blog or /news, or in that case /journal. So if you add to the comment site colon and then your competitor's website, the command in URL colon and then /blog, /news, /journal, whatever you've observed on your competitor's website, then you will be more precisely defining the volume of a certain section on your competitor's website. So you will know how much effort your competitors have put on deploying and feeding a blog, for example. But you can also use that in another context. Let's say that you're benchmarking or analyzing a competitor that is much bigger than you and selling much more products or a wider range of services. So what you can do is also exclude the products or services that you are not selling yourself, or on the contrary, focusing only on the one thing that you are selling. And so you use the exact same command. If you have noticed that in the URL, you have that one identifier that you can use, you use the same command, site colon, the address of your competitors, space, in URL, and then whatever you've identified. And then you will see how many pages your competitors have deployed to talk about that one service or product. There is another way to use that, and these are really the three types of operators that I use. If, let's say, your competitors is talking about one of your keywords, but it's not necessarily present in the URL, in the address. So what you can do is use the quote-unquote operator. So in that example, you want to know how many pages in the posterclub.com contains the term minimalism, to see whether it's an important topic in your competitor's website. So you just add space and quote unquote your keyword, and then you will see how many pages Google knows on that website that contains this keyword. So talking about that topic. So now you know how to define the volume of content that you should create on your website based on observations of your competition. Because yes, it doesn't make sense for you to feel okay with a 20 pages website if you have noticed that your competitors, they have 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 pages. But now let's see how to create how to reach that 10,000 pages when you start with a 20 pages website. So that's when we talk about the generic keywords and the long tail keywords. Generic keywords are the keywords that are highly popular and really searched many times on Google by most of the people. They're typing the same kind of queries on Google. So let's say if you're a hamburgers restaurant, hamburgers Helsinki, if you're based in Helsinki, or hamburger restaurant could be a generic keyword for you. Hamburger being just too vague. So hamburger Helsinki might be relevant, or hamburger restaurant might be relevant as a generic keyword. And a long tail keyword could be eggplant and zucchini, gluten-free hamburgers recipe. That's for someone who's trying to cook himself or herself the hamburger. But there's also best vegan hamburger Helsinki, and that's for people who are looking to buy the best vegan hamburgers in the said city. So these queries, they are much more detailed. They comprise much more keywords, much more words actually. So usually it's 4, 5 and plus words in the same query, whereas a generic keyword usually comprises only 1 or 2 words in the query. And if you're wondering what could be my long tail keywords, there's an easy trick that you can try. If you have, and usually that's the case, already defined your generic keyword, you just add after the generic keywords the location, if it makes sense for you in your context, or the season, or the age, or any other demographic criteria, or even the industry of your customers, for example, or their level of expertise. So of course, depending on what you sell and what makes sense. But these are easy ways to start figuring out what could be your long tail keywords. Here are some tools that I use, but honestly, well, most of the time people are really crazy about tools, and that's a question that I have, that I receive often. I'm not so fond really of tools. Honestly, my main source of inspiration is Google itself, the search engine result page. So I will try different queries, and then I will look at the bottom of the page, and I will just look at the suggestions that Google is offering me. And nowadays, the search result page is also a little bit sexier and more enticing with rich snippets. So results that looks slightly different and that are more, I don't know, compelling, or there is some kind of emphasis on these blogs. And one of them that you can find really often is the people also ask rich snippets. And that most of the time is a really interesting source of inspiration. So yeah, these are just some resources that you can use. There's also Google Ads and the Keyword Planner, Answer the Public, SparkToro. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you already have a website and you have Google Search Console, that's also a nice way to see the keywords, but only the keywords for which you already have some impressions. All right, so now that you know how much effort you need to make to produce a certain amount of pages based on the effort that your competition has made, and that you have a sense of how you're going to be able to develop and broaden the range of keywords that you're going to cover, you need some strong articulation. You need some strong methodology to organize this content on your website. And I'm implying in an automated way, but I'm not gonna detail that. But let's just go through the methodology, because then the technicalities are just a detail and it depends on your platforms, but it's not a big deal according to me. The most important thing is really the mindset. Most of the time, I come across this kind of architecture. So best case scenario, well, you have a home page that's pretty much mandatory, and then you present your services. So worst case scenario, you have one page where you've put all your services together, and best case scenario, you have created one page for each service. And then, well, this is a very much B2B example context. And then you have your projects, what you've done. And again, worst case scenario, you just have thumbnails and everything put together on only one page. Or best case scenario, you have created one page for each. And then you have the contact page. And most of the time, you think you're good with that. There are a few problems here. Not only this, most of the time, leads to a small volume of pages, therefore a small volume of pages that Google will get to know and serve to its users. And the other problem is that most of the time there is a weak internal linking, and it's even weaker that there are less pages, so less opportunities to connect your pages together. Here is a way, almost universal way, of segmenting your content. So if you do this kind of homework, it's gonna facilitate this process of being more thorough. The first thing to ask yourself is how can you define your products or services? What are their characteristics? If we go back to the example of the hamburgers, for example, hamburger is in a restaurant, is the main course. It's not a starter, it's not a dessert. So your products or services, they have a type, a genre, a nature. They can have a price range. They can have a duration, if we talk about a training, or if we talk about a trip, if you're a travel agency, for example. They can also have components. If we talk about a t-shirt, there is the V-neck or the round neck, or there is the fabric, there is the color, and so on. If we talk about a software, there are features. Then the second thing that you can think about are the characteristics of your audience, and that's a really good way of becoming more user-centric, and that's a really good way to produce contents that are relatable, and that's so crucial. So your audience, your prospects or your clients, they belong to an industry. They can have a certain level of expertise. They can have a certain role in a company. If your software, for example, does many things and is useful for different positions within the same company. They can have different center of interest, or if we're in a more B2C context, I guess, they can have different lifestyles or sizes or genders, like women's fashion, men's fashion. And then there's another type of content that you can segment, that you can utilize for your strategy, which is it's the content about your expertise and how you can assist your customers to access to your knowledge. So in there, I've put customer testimonials, but also case studies, and also customer support or technical documentation, tutorials, how-to guides, and so on. This is already segmented in different types of expertise-based content, but you could go even further down, because if we talk about the customer testimonials, we talk about the customer, so you can refer to the characteristics of your audience to segment even more your customer testimonials. If we talk about the case studies, most of the time you realize something, a project for a client, And you in that project you showcase one service or one product, so you can refer to both the characteristics or the way you've segmented your product or service and the way you've segmented your audience, and maybe you go deeper in there. And the last type of content that was on top of my head, it's all the content related to that. Basically, I would put in a blog section. So the news and the company's branding, where you can share inspiration, HR info, your values, and the events that you're organizing. So starting from this kind of simplistic architecture, going through that process of defining what you do and how you do it and for whom you're doing it, you will end up with that kind of architecture, which, as you can see, is much more detailed and is deeper. And here I'd like to talk about the mirror structure. The mirror structure, as you can see here, I've segmented my content. Well, there are different sections like the services and the projects and the blog, and there's also a section where I can showcase my clients. The mirror structure consists in categorizing my content in these different sections and find the common factors between that I will find in all these sections. So, for example, you can see that I can split my services per type of service. Let's say I'm an online marketing agency, so I will do SEO, I will do Google Ads, I will do emailing, whatever. And then I have my projects section where I will showcase my results. So this SEO mission that I've done for this client, or this emailing campaign that I've done for this other client. Again, you will find the projects that are categorized in the same way that I've categorized my services. It's a project about SEO. Please, if you're interested in my SEO services, go check the SEO service page to find out more about what I do and how I do it. So here you can see that the projects, I've also split them per industry, and you can also find that type of category in the blog section as well. So basically, just try to find a common thread that will help you not only develop a much deeper architecture for your content, which will allow you to cover a much broader range of keywords, but also because you're going to be very logical and consistent in the way you're going to split and categorize your content, this will allow you to build bridges between your pages. And this is what I'm calling internal linking, because concretely, you're going to add links boosting your money pages from your complementary or secondary type of content, such as the blog, the testimonials, the projects, everything that is part of your reassuring strategy. I want to reassure my clients that I know what I'm doing, so that they are really convinced that they should book me or they should buy my service or my products. So from that area in your website, from that type of content, you add links boosting the money pages, the service or the product pages, but you also add links in a logical way, boosting other complementary contents, as long as you stay in the same logic, and I mean the same type of keywords. So yes, to summarize it, the first advantage is that you create more pages covering relevant topics. And the second advantage is that you create more links between your pages, which is translated in more opportunities to boost your money pages. Here, well, we still have 5 minutes. So here I've shared an example, concrete example that I found on Trustpilot. So this is a B2B context, and then I have another concrete example on one of my projects, which is a B2C context. So here I was just, let's say that I'm the Shopify website owner. So Shopify is an e-commerce platform. Let's say that I have an e-shop. I created my e-shop on Shopify, and I'm interested in collecting customer reviews on my products. So I'm checking Trustpilot website, which is just doing that. And I'd like to see how I can integrate Trustpilot to my Shopify website. So I'm reading the Shopify connector page. And as I browse this page, I first stumble upon the first link, which is a link to their technical documentation, how to connect Shopify and Trustpilot. If I click on that link, I will see that I land in the support center, and directly in the Shopify page. So you can see here the way this whole support center section has been split in a very detailed and thorough way, and the way it's done in a logical way, so they can create bridges between other sections of the website, such as the Shopify connector page, where I'm from. Then back to the first page, the connector page. If I keep scrolling down, the second block that I will find shows me customer stories. If I click on the link, I can analyze the customer stories section, and I will see again that it's split, it has some depth, and it's split per industry, which allows, again, the website to build natural and logical bridges between the customer stories section and the connector section. So in that case, customer stories split per industry, and we're in the e-commerce industry, and Shopify being an e-commerce platform, there's a natural and logical link there. Going back to my page, the connector page, and keep scrolling down, in the end, I will come across this block of links to other connectors within the e-commerce category. And that's what I was trying to explain just a little bit earlier. You need to stay to remain as logical as possible. So this allows you to deepen the exploration of the Googlebot on one specific keyword. So I'm going to show you how is structured. That's actually the section where this connector page belongs. So it's a partners and apps section, which is split between the apps and the agencies that are partnering up with Trustpilot. And the app section is again split into different subcategories. And the one that is interesting for us is the e-commerce. And within the e-commerce category, we can see that there is a one page for Shopify connector, BigCommerce connector, Magento connector, PrestaShop connector, and WooCommerce connector, and so on. And because they belong to the same category, they are segmented in a logical way, it is then possible, and again, I'm implying automatically, to create a logical internal linking strategy among them. All right, so this is just, I'm just gonna finish quickly. It's another example based on Trustpilot. So there is the resource section, and just to show you that the blogs and the webinars and videos and the guides and reports, they are split the exact same way. So again, you see that is very consistent, and it's again a sort of application of the mirror structure because it allows bridges to be built between those sections. Concretely on Trustpilot, if you ever check the website, they are not using that opportunity, but they could. And then there is this example, so based on a B2C context, this project is actually a small pastry baker, a chef, who's offering catering service in one city in France. And I've just highlighted how I created that consistent segmentation within the different sections of the website. So there is one section which presents sort of catalog of all the pastries, of all the cakes for custom orders. And there, of course, you can find a naked cake. But if you go to the eShop, where you can buy already made cakes within the American cakes category, you can also find the naked cake. And then if you are reading the blog, there is a naked cake tag. So there is a listing of articles that are only talking about naked cake. And eventually, even the testimonials, they have been segmented because the clients who are reviewing the service, they bought a certain type of cakes. So you have the reviews of the clients who ordered naked cakes. And I think now you have a global vision with concrete examples and the way to, first of all, define the volume of content that you need to create. I'm sorry. I'm choking. But it's almost done. So you know how to start by assessing the competition, so you can also gauge the effort that you need to make to create your content strategy. And then you have a methodology to broaden drastically the range of keywords that you're going to cover. And then you also have the methodology to structure that content. And automatically, if you follow that kind of logics, you're going to cover this wide range of keywords. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Juliette. I'll give you a few seconds to recover. And meanwhile, thanks everyone for watching. We still have a couple of questions. The first one, actually, I just will go ahead, is let's say I have just built my own website. I just started a new business. You explained now a lot of different things about content, about the structure of the website, analyzing. What would be the very first step you would recommend someone doing? Like I want to build a website, or I have started building a website. What should I do next?
Well, if you started, or if you're just thinking about it, I will definitely recommend you to, just for the very first thing that I explained. I think for me it's really, and I couldn't stress this out more, it's really about observing your surroundings, the context. Who are your competitors and what are they doing? So you need to make sure that you're going to reach the same standards that your competition is setting. So definitely I would benchmark a lot before anything else, before even like trying to think, oh, I've come up with that really cool, innovative, concept, and I like this way of talking about my service. This is so original. No, hell no, don't be original, because you can be original, but this should leave some space to also be user-friendly, because most of the time originality is not user-friendly. So yes, check your competitors, and don't try to think without being biased by external examples. On the contrary, first rely on external examples and then try to come up with your own idea, which is really considering what you've observed around you.
Okay. And then one interesting thing that I found was that you mentioned in the very beginning backlinking. Like that means basically that like there's links from other websites to your own website, and that you don't believe in that. I think that has been a thing that people have been trying to do quite a lot in the past. Like that was, I think, when people thought about SEO getting high on Google, then it was like all about getting backlinks from whatever. I think there were even some platforms where you could get like 1,000 backlinks on all kinds of dubious pages. You already said what your take on this is, but like, can you explain why? Like, why do you not believe in that?
Yeah, well, I'm not saying that it's not working. It does work. It's just that you cannot control it. You have much less control over your backlinking strategy or backlinking platforms than you have over your own platform and your own content, first off. And it's extremely time consuming because you need to identify potential partners, then reach out, then negotiate, and it can be costly, of course. So I only see disadvantages, whereas if you just work on your website and you work on amplifying your content and optimizing your content, you save time, you know what you're doing, you're in control, things are safe as well, because this is a very important element of any backlinking strategy. You don't know what's been going on the website where it's gonna send you some links. So yeah, if it's shady, or if it has been shady before, I'm dying. Just a second.
All right. Meanwhile, I can already give you a little hint that if you need some more help from Juliette, she already gave a lot of examples. First thing that we're actually going to do is, like, it's not scheduled yet, but in the fall, there is going to be another follow-up event on the topic of SEO. We will send you, like, all of those who have registered via email. We'll send you a link as soon as we know more. And there will also be an email with some additional content that we will send you after this event. But we actually still had another question here from Jog Farm, which was, what tools or sites can you recommend to stay up to date with trending topics of a specific industry? Do you have any suggestions there?
So tools that I would recommend to stay up to date with the SEO trends, it would be, for example, well, there are many, but one content producer that I like is Ren Fishkin of Moz. But for a very long time, I was also heavily reading whatever HubSpot was publishing, because they have really user-friendly articles and very interesting and inspirational content there. Especially if you have to feed a blog section. But then the trends of a specific industry, if we're talking about the keywords, like, for example, I'm working on that project for a slow fashion label, and there was this post about the GOTS, which is a standard for organic cotton. The most relevant standard for organic cotton. And yes, I used Google Trends, and I saw the markets, the countries where this certification was trending. It's still a niche keyword, but it's growing in different, especially in Germany. Ansgar, German people, they are so respectful of the environment, and so yes, it was definitely a hot topic in Germany. And so yeah, it gives you ideas of what to use and what to use in priority. So Google Trends would be a good platform for that.
Okay, good. And then, well, I would say, well, that answered that one. Hopefully, of course, like in every industry is a little bit different. Last question, maybe an interesting question for some people that have maybe not so much heard about SEO so far. Is SEO something that every business has to have?
Sure. Well, why not? It's free quality traffic from a search engine, and nowadays from Google. And nowadays we know how complex the user's journey is. So at some point, and most of the time it's in the very early stages, but there's gonna be some Google searches involved in the process. And the process is probably gonna comprise, I don't know, between 5 to 100 touch points, be it direct, referrals, like people who are mentioning something directly to you, or I don't know, a cold email that you receive, or an ad that you can see on social media, or something that is not sponsored on social media, and multiple searches on Google. If the topic is interesting to you at some point, and you do that, you will Google it. So yeah, anyone should make sure that their SEO is covered, because it's the most sustainable source of traffic, and it's the most relevant also most of the time. But in the long term, it makes a lot of sense.
All right. Well, I think we will have to stop now, even though there would probably be still many things to talk about. Thanks a lot, Juliette. And
thank you.
And thanks everyone else for watching. Still some information for you. If you want to watch this this event again, as I said, you can do that. You find the link to the event, to the video in the comments. You will also get an email about it. You find it on the event page. That we will put it there later. Also, if you need, if this was a lot of information, it always is. If we're talking about topics like, for example, SEO, and you feel that this is a little bit overwhelming for you yourself, you can also reach out to Juliette actually herself directly. You will find her as an expert on our website. You can also get a Digi voucher on our website. That's also linked in the comments or here, depending. Where you can get like a certain amount of hours, 2, 5, or 10 hours with one of our experts, either with Juliette or someone else. This is gonna be helping you actually quite a lot already with your SEO strategy. And last but not least, we have a new event coming up, obviously next month again. I will post the link also here in the comments. It's going to be on May 19th. And there we're going to talk about something, well, that's really relevant. If you're interested in SEO, then you probably have it already. But if you don't have a website or you want to build a new one, we're going to have an event on what to focus on, what to consider when buying or making your own website. Also a lot of good tips that are going to probably save you a lot of time and money. So you can already sign up for that. It's free as always. And that is everything from us for now. You will hear from us, and we hope to see you in the next event. Thanks a lot. Have a nice